she was known as the famed Master of Huashia, a woman renowned for both her exceptional medical and toxicological prowess, two rare skills that made her both revered and feared. With a flick of her wrist, she could concoct a pill potent enough to purchase a small country, a talent that left her standing as an unrivaled paragon of wealth and beauty. However, this brilliance had attracted more than admirers. There were some, lurking in the shadows, who saw her as a threat to be eliminated, and they would stop at nothing to see her fall. Their latest attempt had been as cold-hearted as it was devious. They had planted a ticking bomb beneath her very seat. With a deafening blast, the explosion engulfed Junju in a surge of fiery light. Amid the flames, she noticed something extraordinary. The jade bracelet on her wrist was emitting a blinding radiance, as if it held some ancient, untapped power. Fate seemed to be taking a strange turn, and through the haze, she could faintly hear voices murmuring around her. They spoke with disdainful confidence, taunting her, remarking on her appearance, pitying her beauty wasted in death. Someone even chuckled darkly, suggesting they might as well take advantage of her lifeless form. One of the men reached out, his hand hovering close to her chest, when her eyes suddenly snapped open. With swift precision, she clamped down on his wandering hand. The men recoiled, horrified by what they had just witnessed. They stumbled back, pale with fear, exclaiming about a ghostly resurrection. With a slight sneer, Junju looked down at the frightened faces and spat out, "Who dares curse my death? Not even death itself can touch me." One man, regaining his composure and emboldened by her supposed inability to cultivate power, dismissed their fears. If she wasn't a ghost, then they had no reason to cower. After all, to him, Junju was nothing more than a helpless heiress, one who lacked any fighting spirit. He grinned lecherously, suggesting that since she was still alive, they might as well teach her a lesson she'd never forget. However, Junju's lips curled into a knowing smile, one that revealed she was neither helpless nor afraid. Blinded by desire, and having been deprived of any female companionship for far too long, the men advanced eagerly. The thought of overpowering such a noble lady filled them with an almost childlike excitement. Just as they moved in to strip away her garments, Junju struck first, greeting them with a brutal, perfectly timed elbow that sent them reeling back in shock. The sudden, merciless strike had left the two men frozen in shock, their eyes wide with terror. They hadn't expected such a display of strength from Junju, a woman they had believed to be frail and powerless. To them, she was nothing more than the weakling noble they had grown accustomed to mocking. Yet now, as they gaped at her with disbelief, they couldn't ignore the undeniable truth: something was different about her. This was no longer the Junju they knew. The realization hit them hard, but it came too late. Junju began advancing toward them, her every step deliberate and menacing. Her voice was calm, laced with cold fury as she remarked, "I believe I heard someone mention wanting to take advantage of me while I was warm." The men broke into a cold sweat. Panic gripped them as they stumbled backward, desperately trying to create some distance between themselves and the approaching figure. "Stay away," one of them stammered, his voice trembling with fear. Junju, however, showed no mercy. Her lips curled into a chilling smile as she delivered her final declaration: "Those who insult me have only one fate, death." The screams that followed echoed into the night, sharp and brief, as she dispatched them without hesitation. By the time the scene grew silent again, the men had already crossed into the afterlife, lining up at the bridge of helplessness for their turn at the fabled forgetfulness soup. Standing amidst the chaos, Junju took a moment to gather herself. A sudden wave of realization washed over her. She wasn't in her world anymore. The memories came flooding back, the explosion at the auction, the searing light, and now this unfamiliar place. She quickly pieced it together. She had transmigrated. This body, however, wasn't entirely foreign. It belonged to someone who shared her name, a Junju of the Tianzong kingdom. The original Junju had been the infamous disgrace of the prestigious Jun family, a direct descendant with no aptitude for cultivation in a world where strength dictated one's worth. The girl had endured years of humiliation before falling victim to foul play, her life tragically cut short. But that Junju was gone. In her place stood a woman from the year 2030, a revered master known as the Medicine Saint, a figure who had ascended to the pinnacle of her world. This rebirth was no accident, and Junju vowed it wouldn't be wasted. She clenched her fists, a new resolve burning in her eyes. No longer would this name be synonymous with weakness. Everything the original Junju had lost would be reclaimed, every injustice avenged. Those who had dared to bully her would face retribution, one by one. Drawing from the fragmented memories of this body, Junju decided her next course of action. Her family resided in Fengmo City. It was time to return and begin her new life in earnest. As Junju journeyed back, she quickly realized the road ahead would be far from tranquil. The air around her vibrated with an unsettling energy that hinted at something extraordinary. A man, imprisoned in a pool of sulfuric acid for over a millennium, was on the verge of breaking free. His body radiated a terrifying power, crackling with lightning, as he unleashed every ounce of strength against his bindings. Moments later, the seal shattered, and he propelled himself upward, a triumphant surge of freedom lighting up his eyes. Filled with exhilaration, he roared his defiance into the void. "Once I'm free, all of you will perish." But his outburst was not without consequence. The force of his escape reverberated through the earth, and the resulting shockwave disrupted Junju's path. She plummeted from her perch, descending rapidly toward the source of the chaos. The man, startled to see a figure tumbling toward him, froze in disbelief. A woman? Here? His mind raced as the two drew closer, yet Junju's expression betrayed no fear. Instead, her lips curled into a wicked grin that sent an ominous chill down his spine. Something about that smile spelled trouble. His instincts were right. Without hesitation, Junju delivered a powerful kick that landed squarely on his face. The force of the blow was breathtaking, painful in a way that was as much an affront to his pride as it was to his body. With an almost casual ruthlessness, she used him as a springboard, propelling herself upward in an audacious bid to escape the cavern's confines. The man was furious. Rage bubbled within him as he plummeted back into the depths he had spent centuries planning to leave behind. 1,000 years of scheming, and this insufferable woman ruins it all in one kick, he fumed. The indignity of it was almost too much to bear. Junju, meanwhile, was within arm's reach of the cavern's opening, her escape tantalizingly close. But just as freedom seemed assured, an iron grip seized her ankle, yanking her downward with brutal force. She gasped, twisting to see the man she had just dispatched dragging her back into the abyss. How? She had sent him hurtling into the darkness moments ago. How had he recovered so quickly? Before she could formulate a plan, gravity claimed her, and she plunged into the water below. Disoriented, Junju opened her eyes, only to find herself face to face with the man, and their lips pressed together in a moment of accidental intimacy. Shock widened her eyes as the reality of their collision sank in, leaving her momentarily stunned in the murky depths. Junju was seething. This scoundrel had the audacity to steal a kiss, no less, while she was still grappling with the chaos of their plunge into the water. Without a second thought, she pushed him away with a force that was more insult than defense, breaking the unintentional intimacy. Gasping for air, she shot to the surface, her mind a whirlwind of questions. Who was this man? And where on earth had she landed? Her questions barely had time to settle before the man emerged beside her, his movements calculated and his expression fierce. His hand clamped around her chin, tilting her face toward his as his eyes burned with fury. "You dare ruin my plan to break the seal," he growled, his voice brimming with indignation. "Who are you?" Junju could feel the danger radiating from him, like a predator sizing up its prey. Still, she forced herself to meet his gaze with defiance, the weight of his grip doing little to cow her. "Isn't it basic courtesy to give your name before asking for someone else's?" she shot back, her tone sharp enough to cut. For the first time, she got a proper look at him. And what a sight it was! His face, chiseled and flawless, could have been carved by the gods themselves, and his physique, well, let's just say it wasn't built for modesty. The realization hit her like a lightning bolt. He was dangerously attractive, the kind of man whose beauty could disarm even the most hardened of hearts. Against her will, a sly grin crept onto her lips, and her expression turned downright shameless. The man, far from flattered, looked like he might burst from sheer indignation. "You ruined my escape. You sabotaged my plan and left me to rot in this abyss once more, and now you're smirking at me?" His voice thundered with frustration. "Tell me, woman, how should I quench the raging fire you've ignited in my chest?" Junju didn't miss a beat, her grin widening as she shrugged off his outburst with a nonchalance that bordered on audacious. "Oh, my bad. But honestly, what's done is done. Even if you kill me, nothing will change that. Why don't we make a deal instead?" Her tone was casual, playful, as if she were negotiating a trade rather than facing a man who could obliterate her with a flick of his wrist. The man's glare faltered for a moment, replaced by a glimmer of intrigue. This girl, fearless, reckless, and entirely unfazed by his wrath, was unlike anyone he had encountered. "A deal?" he echoed, skepticism lacing his voice. Junju gestured toward the cavern's opening high above them. "You help me get out of here, and I'll help you break free from this seal. Simple as that." He let out a humorless laugh, the sound low and mocking. "You speak as though breaking this seal is child's play. Do you have any idea how long it took me to even come this close to escaping?" Her smile didn't waver. "Well, then," she said, her tone light and teasing, "sounds like you could use a helping hand." Junju's gaze swept the dim expanse as her words hung in the air. She found herself in a subterranean abyss, the atmosphere heavy with a foreboding chill. Surrounding her was a complex two-tiered magical array. 8 Chelene statues, bound tightly with enchanted chains, loomed ominously, guarding the seal. She furrowed her brow, lost in thought. Memories of her world surfaced. She had studied the 8 trigrams formation extensively. Though intricate, this array adhered to the principles of the 5 elements and the trigrams. Understanding its framework made dismantling it feel within reach, albeit perilous. Her lips curved in a contemplative smile. A seal of such power implied that the man before her was no ordinary being. Dangerous, yes, but worth taming. The thought of controlling such a force ignited a thrill within her, the kind of excitement that made her blood race. With this man as her ally, or better, her subordinate, she could become truly unstoppable. The man's sharp voice snapped her out of her musings. He demanded to know what she was plotting, accusing her of considering an escape. He dismissed her capabilities, his tone dripping with doubt. How could a mere woman dismantle a formation of such magnitude? Junju didn't waste time on arguments. Her finger shot upward, pointing to the array's focal point with precision. "The array's core lies there," she declared confidently. "Destroying it will break the seal." The man's eyes widened in shock. Her swift assessment of the array's vulnerability was unexpected. Could she truly dismantle a seal that had held him captive for centuries? A flicker of curiosity softened his skepticism as he asked her name. "Ju Yu," she replied with a practiced smile, one that was both disarming and professional. Impressed but wary, the man agreed to their earlier deal. If she succeeded in breaking the formation, he would take her wherever she wished to go. Without hesitation, Junju drew a small knife, its blade gleaming faintly in the cavern's low light. With a few precise movements, she severed the ancient magic that had imprisoned the demon for millennia. The moment the array collapsed, the entire underground chamber began to crumble, the air filling with the deafening roar of falling debris. Junju's heart leapt in panic as the ground gave way beneath her feet. But before the chaos could claim her, the man's arms encircled her, pulling her against his chest with a speed that defied logic. Shielded by his body, she escaped the fate of being crushed by the collapsing cavern, her breath catching as she clung to him. His presence was solid, unyielding, and for the briefest moment, she allowed herself to feel safe in his grasp. By their agreement, Junju had dismantled the array, and now it was his turn to fulfill his promise. Despite his infamy as a demon lord, the man proved honorable, cradling her in his arms as he soared effortlessly through the crumbling cavern. Junju's eyes widened in shock, her breath hitching. Flying. The man was flying. As a modern woman, she had never witnessed anything so surreal, and for a moment, she could only marvel at the impossible. After what felt like mere moments, they emerged into the open air. The night had fallen, cloaking the world in a cool, inky darkness. He turned his gaze to her, his expression a mix of curiosity and authority as he asked her destination. "Where to now?" His voice was calm but expectant, waiting for her next move. "Feng Luo City." "The Jun family," she replied, her tone measured, though her mind raced with thoughts of what awaited her there. Unbeknownst to Jun Ju, chaos had already erupted at the Jun family residence. Flames roared into the night sky, devouring the once proud estate. At the heart of the inferno stood Jun Qianshan, the Jun family's second miss, her lips curling into a triumphant sneer. Her scheme was simple and ruthless. The fire was staged to look as though Jun Ju had clumsily knocked over a bamboo oil lamp, setting the house ablaze. A nearby maid, her partner in this crime, eagerly fanned her mistress's ego with sycophantic affirmations. Jun Qianshan's hatred for Jun Ju ran deep, stemming from Jun Ju's rejection by both their main and branch families. To her, Jun Ju's existence was an embarrassment, a blemish on the Jun family name that had to be erased. Laughing maniacally, Jun Qianshan reveled in her handiwork. This was an excellent plan, she mused aloud, the words laced with malice. She's nothing but trash. No one will miss her. Her maid nodded vigorously, plastering on a nervous smile as she promised, "No one will ever know you were involved, my lady. The world will believe it was her own foolishness." Neither of them realized just how much their night of revelry was about to unravel. Jun Qianshan's lips curled into a sinister smile as she showered her maid with praise. The servant beamed with excitement, oblivious to the growing malice behind the compliments. It was only a moment ago that the maid had revealed her darker role in Jun Ju's demise. The maid had poisoned her to ensure her death. The maid's gratitude overflowed as she basked in her mistress's approval. But her celebration was cut short when a rock came hurtling out of the shadows, striking her square on the face. She yelped in pain, clutching her head as her face twisted into an indignant grimace. "Who dares?" she began, but her voice faltered into a trembling gasp. Her gaze darted to a figure looming just beyond the fire's glow. Pointing with a shaky hand, she stammered, "Second miss." "Look! A ghost!" Jun Qianshan froze, her smugness evaporating as she followed the maid's trembling finger. Her blood ran cold at the sight before her. Standing there, illuminated by the flickering flames, was Jun Ju. She was alive. Worse, she was smirking, casually tossing a stone up and down in her hand, her gaze fixed on them with predatory intent. Jun Qianshan's body betrayed her, she trembled, her lips quivering as she stuttered, You, weren't you thrown off the cliff? How are you here?" Before she could make sense of what was happening, Jun Ju moved faster than her mind could register. With a swift motion, she slapped Jun Qianshan across the face, the force leaving her stunned, her expression frozen in disbelief. Jun Ju's voice dripped with mockery as she tilted her head. "What's the matter? Woken up yet? Dead people don't give such satisfying slaps, do they?" Jun Qianshan reeled, her mind refusing to accept the reality before her. This couldn't be happening. She was sure Jun Ju had perished. Yet, here she stood, her presence undeniable, her words cutting deeper than the slap itself. Still in a daze, Jun Qianshan barely had time to think before Jun Ju's hand met her cheek again, delivering another resounding blow. The sheer audacity left her speechless, her eyes wide with shock. Jun Ju shook her hand with exaggerated nonchalance, muttering, "Your shamelessness is thicker than the city wall's corners. My hand hurts from slapping you." The servant standing nearby watched in stunned silence, their faces a mix of confusion and disbelief. Was this truly the same Jun Ju they had dismissed as a worthless outcast? The aura she exuded now was anything but weak. Jun Qianshan, clutching her burning cheek, finally snapped out of her stupor. Realizing that Jun Ju was not only alive but had humiliated her so publicly, rage consumed her. With a cry of fury, she lunged at Jun Ju, determined to end her once and for all. Jun Qianshan spat insults with venom in her voice, the words laced with defiance as she hurled them at Jun Ju. She barely finished her tirade when Jun Ju's fist collided with her stomach, sending her doubling over with a gasp. The impact seemed to force something vile from her insides, leaving her gagging and disoriented. Before she could fully recover, Junju seized her by the neck and hoisted her off the ground, holding her high as though she weighed nothing. Her voice, low and deliberate, dripped with menace. "I don't tolerate being insulted," she declared. "If I hear you curse me again, I'll cut out your tongue. Believe me, I don't bluff." Terror rooted Jun Qianshan in place. Her vision blurred with the sheer intensity of Junju's glare, far more terrifying than even their eldest sister's wrath. A chill ran down her spine as her mind spiraled into doubt. Was this really Junju? Could this even be human? Or had she returned as a ghost to exact revenge? Yet, even as fear clawed at her resolve, Jun Qianshan clung to her arrogance. With a trembling but spiteful voice, she shouted, "Junju, you're nothing but a useless wretch. Even as a ghost, you're still worthless." Without missing a beat, she turned to the dazed servants lingering nearby, commanding them to attack. Her words spurred them into action, their blades glinting as they charged at Junju with reckless abandon. Junju responded with nothing more than a contemptuous scoff. Lightning quick, she moved in a blur, and within moments, 5 of the attackers lay motionless, their weapons rendered useless. The display of overwhelming power left Jun Qianshan trembling uncontrollably. Her mind screamed in denial, this couldn't be real. The Junju she knew was weak, a failure. How could she now possess such devastating strength? Her thoughts were cut short when Junju's boot slammed down on her with terrifying force. The grinding pressure on her body brought tears of pain to her eyes. The humiliation burned deeper than the physical agony, her pride crushed under the weight of Junju's dominance. Junju leaned down, her voice dangerously soft, as she taunted her. "Jun Qianshan, did I hear you curse me again just now? I told you, I wasn't joking about cutting out your tongue. Be good and open your mouth. Don't worry, I'm fast, you'll barely feel a thing." Jun Qianshan's eyes widened in terror as the gleaming dagger drew closer, her lips clamping shut in defiance, though desperation trembled in her gaze. But Junju's grip was unyielding, stronger than she could have imagined. With a quick, brutal motion, Junju pried her mouth open, sliding the blade in slowly, each inch taunting her with the grim promise of pain. Just as the tip of the knife grazed her lips, a thunderous shout shattered the tense silence, halting Junju's hand midair. It was Jun Qianshan's father, Jun Leitian, storming onto the scene with a rage that matched the heat of the noon sun. His face twisted in fury as he saw his daughter held hostage, and without hesitation, he condemned Junju's actions. "Junju," he bellowed, "how dare you commit such violence in broad daylight?" His voice held the arrogance of someone who believed he held ultimate authority, despite the incriminating reality of his daughter's schemes. Junju, unshaken by the sudden interference, let out a dry, mocking laugh. "You want me to spare the one who sought to kill me? Do I look like the type to play the fragile damsel, Jun Leitian?" She fixed him with a scornful gaze, her smirk making it clear just how little his reprimands meant to her. Jun Leitian's face darkened, the humiliation of her defiance prickling at his pride. He sneered, incredulous at her audacity. "So, Junju, you defy my orders now? Who do you think you are?" His brows furrowed in confusion. Hadn't he been assured she was dead? How was this even possible? Junju's lips curled in a sneer, her voice dripping with contempt as she dismissed his confusion. "You think you're in charge, do you? Who gave you that idea?" Her words stung as she reminded him of her true lineage. "I am the legitimate daughter of the main family. By tradition, you should be bowing in respect when you see me. Or did a day apart make you forget your place?" At this, Jun Leitian's followers erupted in laughter, the sound mocking and filled with scorn. Jun Leitian smirked, taunting her, "Junju, have you lost your mind? You're a failure, unable even to cultivate spirit energy. Who do you think you are, flaunting your so-called birthright? Your parents are dead, and the Jun family would rather discard a useless wretch like you." But Junju's expression remained unreadable, her eyes flashing with a cold determination that silenced their sneers. Her presence, once dismissed as weak, now commanded a power that none of them could ignore. Jun Leitian continued sneering, his voice laced with contempt as he spat accusations, claiming that Junju's disgrace and forced exile from the main family was an order from the family's matriarch herself. His words were sharp and cruel, asserting that she had no right to demand respect or mention her lineage, as if daring her to recall the humiliation that had once driven her away. For a moment, Junju felt a twinge of embarrassment. Only recently transported to this world, she had no prior knowledge of this life she now inhabited. Yet, as he spoke, memories began to trickle into her mind, fragments of the former owner of this body. She could see glimpses of a desolate life, a struggle marked by nothing but cold leftovers, bare walls, and the sting of abandonment. The past she'd stepped into was indeed harsh and tragic. Cast out without pity, the original Junju had been relegated to survive with barely a thread of dignity. With a sharp exhale, Junju's heart hardened. Now she knew her enemy, the matriarch of the main family, had been the architect of this cruelty, and that knowledge gave her purpose. This would simplify things. Jun Leitian, clearly growing impatient, gave a sharp command to his guards, urging them forward to strike Junju down and save his daughter. At once, two towering men lunged toward her, emanating a powerful energy that made Junju pause. These were skilled spirit masters, far from mere henchmen. In that instant, the dark entity behind her offered a silent, telepathic inquiry, asking if she required assistance. But Junju, steeling herself, declined, intent on handling this challenge alone. With a swift movement, she aimed a powerful kick at Jun Chanchan, sending her flying toward the advancing guards with such force that it left a crater in the ground. As the dust settled, Jun Chanchan lay unconscious, the force of impact rendering her motionless. Jun Leitian, furious beyond reason, ordered his two men to resume their assault on Junju, commanding them to kill her without delay. Obeying instantly, the two lunged forward with renewed force, one of them, bulky, wiry, and fiercely intense, unleashing a powerful technique right from the start, a move that would overwhelm most ordinary opponents. In the nearby branches, the dark entity, who had been silently watching, felt a pang of worry. He doubted Junju's current ability to handle such a formidable foe, suspecting that a spirit master like this was far too advanced for her to face alone. For a fleeting moment, he readied himself to intervene. But what he witnessed next stopped him cold. Junju deftly sidestepped her attacker's blow with remarkable ease, as if she had already anticipated the move, and then, to his astonishment, launched a swift counterattack. The bulky man, his eyes wide with disbelief, found himself struck down in an instant. As though struck by a storm of unseen arrows, his body collapsed, life extinguished before he even had the chance to register his fate. The smaller of the two opponents froze, staring in shock at his fallen companion, his mind racing to grasp the impossible. Yet he barely had a moment to react before Junju closed the distance between them, her blade held firmly against his throat. A single, swift motion, and he was dispatched, joining his companion in death. Calmly wiping the blood from her face, Junju turned her gaze to Jun Leitian and his daughter. "Your turn," she said, her voice low and cutting, as if delivering a sentence from the underworld itself. Terror gripped the pair so tightly they lost control, quivering in their fear as they stood before her. Leitian, staring at Junju's unwavering stance and the cold promise in her eyes, broke out in a sweat. Desperation overtook his pride, and he stumbled over his words, issuing apology after apology, his previous arrogance extinguished. But Junju was not about to let him escape so easily. Her home had been burned, and she intended for him to pay. Not only did she demand compensation in the form of a villa, but she made it clear that should there be a next time, mercy would be out of the question. Unable to fight back, unwilling to risk a battle he knew he'd lose, Jun Leitian swallowed his rage and hatred, his resentment for Junju festering. Just as he thought he might escape with whatever dignity he could salvage, her voice cut through the air, halting him. The head of a branch family should kneel before the true heir of the main family, she stated, her tone leaving no room for defiance. "Or have you forgotten your place?" Her words left no doubt that obedience was not a request, it was her decree. And Leitian, powerless before her, had no choice but to comply. Jun Leitian had not anticipated that Junju would demand such an outrageous and humiliating act of submission. His face darkened, his expression twisted with hatred as his teeth clenched in suppressed fury. Yet, confronted by Junju's piercing, menacing gaze, he found himself surrendering once more. Kneeling before her with trembling reluctance, he bowed low, his voice strained as he addressed her. "I greet you, Miss Ju. May I humbly request permission for us to leave?" Junju, however, was far from placated. With an icy glare, she dismissed him brusquely, commanding him to get lost. The humiliation burned through Lei Tian, leaving his features contorted in rage. Never in his wildest imagination had he thought the girl he once dismissed as worthless would rise to such power and trample him underfoot. The urge to strike her down surged within him, but fear held him in check. Just as Lei Tian and his daughter, Jun Qianshan, were about to retreat, Junju's hand darted into her sleeve. In a single fluid motion, she pulled out a slender silver needle and flicked it toward Qianshan. The sharp glint of the needle was the only warning before it embedded itself in Qianshan's neck. Qianshan's eyes widened in shock, her hands flying to her throat as her voice abruptly vanished. The scream she tried to release turned into silence, leaving her gaping in horrified disbelief. The pain began almost immediately, spreading through her like a wildfire. Tears streamed down her face as she writhed in her father's arms, her voice robbed by the needle's deadly magic. The torment was far from over. Junju had ensured Qianshan would endure a lifetime of agony, her body consumed by an unrelenting, fiery pain. Lei Tian stood frozen, utterly bewildered by this unforeseen act of vengeance. His daughter's wails, silent though they were, tore through him. Cradling Qianshan in his arms, his anguish quickly turned to rage. He swore vengeance, imagining the day he would tear Junju to shreds and toss her remains into a pigsty. Junju, however, was unimpressed by their misery. She yawned as if bored by the entire ordeal, her mind already wandering to more pressing matters. Her body, still weakened and unfamiliar to her after her rebirth, felt strained and exhausted from even a brief confrontation. She knew she would need to train rigorously to cleanse and strengthen this vessel if she hoped to reclaim her former strength. But just as she prepared to leave and rest, a hand materialized from behind her, resting lightly on her shoulder. Startled but composed, she turned to find the enigmatic dark entity, now standing uncomfortably close. His voice, deep and teasing, reverberated with accusation. "Little girl, you lied to me. Your name isn't Ju-Yu, it's Junju." Junju's lips curled into a wry smirk as she shoved the hand, its presence annoyingly heavy, off her shoulder. "Why should I be honest with you?" she retorted with deliberate nonchalance. "We're not close enough for me to share my real name." As Junju turned to face the dark entity behind her, she felt its unnervingly close presence linger near her ear. The man, now introducing himself as Mo Wuyue, whispered his name with an audacious smirk. He added, almost casually, that while she might have lied about her name, he found Ju-Yu charming enough. In fact, he declared, their future child would bear that name. Her mind screeched to a halt. What? Junju's jaw practically unhinged as she processed his absurd leap of logic. They had only just met, and here he was naming imaginary children like some deranged romantic protagonist. Her thoughts raced, tinged with incredulity and indignation. Has Mo Wuyue been locked away too long, she wondered. Minutes after meeting me, he's plotting to woo me? Her reputation, ironclad and untouchable, had never suffered such an assault before. No one had dared to address her like this. Ever. Fixing him with a glare sharp enough to cut glass, Junju shot back inwardly that she didn't need a man, let alone children. She was Junju, capable of solving every problem herself. A man would only slow her down. But Mo Wuyue wasn't one to be dismissed so easily. His expression shifted from playful to solemn as he watched her. His thoughts strayed to her earlier confrontation with Jun Leitian and Qianshan, recalling how fiercely independent she had been, how she hadn't even sought his help against overwhelming odds. That stubborn resolve stirred something unfamiliar in him, concern. With a voice imbued with quiet seriousness, he told her she was no longer allowed to fight so recklessly. Whatever she desired, he vowed to handle it for her. Junju met his sudden earnestness with a withering rejection, making it clear she wanted no part of his self-imposed protector role. Yet Mo Wuyue, as persistent as a shadow, followed her. He trailed her to Jun Leitian's mansion, the site of her enemy's begrudging compensation, declaring his intent to stay close. Not just nearby, but in the room next to hers. Junju's expression darkened into one of pure disdain as she stared at the unshakable man. Her thoughts seethed with frustration. He's impossible. Fight him, and I lose. Shake him off, and he reappears. A helper, sure, but one I can't control? That was the worst of it. The lack of control made her feel uneasy, and she loathed the sensation. Yet as she begrudgingly resigned herself to his presence, she couldn't help but curse her earlier decision to involve him in the first place. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Jun Leitian was beside himself with rage. He couldn't shake the suspicion that Junju had been hiding her true strength all along. Clearly, this young woman was far from a helpless nobody. She had single-handedly taken down 2 level 1 spiritual masters. Jun Leitian's fury only intensified as his mind reeled with the audacity of it all. The chief steward, sensing his distress, cautiously suggested that they bring back Miss Wan, a formidable level 2 spiritual master, who, without question, could handle Junju. With that, Jun Leitian's anger gave way to a sudden spark of hope. He had almost forgotten his elder daughter's superior abilities. At once, he instructed the steward to urgently contact Jun Wan and summon her back. Meanwhile, Qianshan wasn't faring much better. Junju's underhanded tactics had rendered her speechless, literally. She couldn't utter a single word, trapped in the bizarre silence like a silent sufferer with no one to confide in. The healer who arrived to assess her condition found nothing visibly amiss and concluded she had merely sustained internal injuries. He prescribed some pain relief medication, wholly oblivious to her true predicament. Qianshan desperately shook her head, wanting to scream that this wasn't the whole story, that somehow Junju had done something sinister to her. But every attempt to vocalize her thoughts only produced a series of strangled sounds. Back at Junju's side, she found herself fuming. Mo Wuyue, it seemed, had clung to her like an unshakable shadow, making it impossible for her to rid herself of his constant presence. As she mulled over her options in exasperation, a soft voice chimed in from the bracelet on her wrist. It was her AR assistant, attempting to reassure her, "Master, don't be upset. At least he's easy on the eyes. Keeping him around might not be so bad as long as he makes for pleasant scenery." It turned out that this intelligent AR device and her portable storage space had crossed dimensions with her into this world. Her AR assistant, now appearing as a small cat named Xiao Wu, had been her loyal companion from her previous life. Junju's curiosity piqued, and she asked Xiao Wu if her mysterious arrival here had something to do with her. Xiao Wu, however, could only offer a partial answer. In the chaotic moments of the explosion, all she could do was shield Junju's soul, but the rest? That had been the result of sheer, inexplicable chance. Junju found herself wondering if returning to her original world was even a possibility. Xiao Wu, her AI companion, quickly dispelled that hope. Her previous self had perished in the explosion, Xiao Wu explained, leaving nothing behind but ashes. A brief wave of sorrow washed over Junju, realizing there was no way back. But she resolved that if she was here to stay, she would live fully, especially since the life of the previous owner of this body had been riddled with misfortune. Orphaned and bullied without end, the former Junju had lived a tragic existence. Vague memories surfaced of her biological father, a powerful and revered man who had once arranged an engagement for her with the crown prince. But after his death, Junju's stepmother had coldly cast her out of the family, scheming to replace her with her own daughter in the prince's favor. The bitter irony of it struck Junju, whose modern sensibilities found this tangled plot straight out of a soap opera. It was clear now that the former Junju had lost her life because of this betrayal. Xiao Wu immediately suggested that Junju should distance herself from the Jun family, reasoning that her medical expertise alone would ensure her survival anywhere. But Junju sensed that this world was far from the one she once knew, especially with the existence of spiritual masters who could live for centuries through cultivation. Medicine might differ here in unimaginable ways, and the memories she possessed held no trace of healing knowledge. For now, she needed the protection and resources of the Jun family to understand this new world's workings, and more importantly, to develop her own strength. Even if this body was considered weak, in her hands, she was determined to turn it into something remarkable. Just then, the maid who had previously poisoned her appeared, trembling and pleading for forgiveness as she knelt before Jun-ju. Her face was streaked with tears and snot, as if genuinely remorseful. But Jun-ju saw the truth. Jun Lei-tian had sent this servant to spy on her. Under any other circumstances, the maid would sooner die than approach her of her own accord. Jun-ju took in the maid's theatrics with barely concealed amusement, instantly seeing through the girl's shallow display of remorse. Her expression never wavered as she raised the maid's chin, pretending to forgive her. Yet, without waiting for a reaction, Jun-ju deftly slipped a pill between the maid's lips. Clapping her hands as though concluding a task, she told the girl with mock cheerfulness, "I don't keep useless people around. Consider yourself reproposed." The effect was almost immediate. The maid's face twisted in agony, her body contorting as if something foreign writhed within her. Her eyes glazed over, transforming her expression into a vacant, almost zombie-like stare. Soon, she lost consciousness entirely. It was at that moment that Mo Wuyue entered, curiosity flickering in his eyes as he took in the unsettling scene. He studied Jun-ju with intrigue and asked what exactly had been done to the maid. Jun-ju's answer was as smooth as it was chilling. The maid had ingested a rare pill known as the servant puppet pill, a concoction that would turn her into a mindless puppet, bound to obey Jun-ju's every command. Mo Wuyue's brow furrowed in slight bewilderment. How could someone as young as Jun-ju possess such a powerful pill? Just then, the maid stirred, standing rigidly upright with a blank stare. Her first words were a hollow, emotionless "Master." Without hesitation, Jun-ju ordered her to spy on Jun Lei-tian and his family from now on. Watching this bizarre transformation, Mo Wuyue felt a shock he rarely experienced. Though he had lived for millennia, he had never encountered a pill with effects like these. He wondered if perhaps his own long confinement had left him out of touch with recent advancements in alchemy. Jun-ju, noticing the fascination in Mo Wuyue's gaze, smirked. Teasingly, she asked if Mo Wuyue was curious to know if this was indeed a new creation from the House of Puppet Masters. Mo Wuyue moved closer, curiosity unmistakable in his eyes, as he replied, "Little Ju, would you be willing to share it with me?" Jun-ju folded her arms, her voice carrying a hint of mischief. "Of course not," she replied. "That's my secret, after all. I wouldn't give it away so easily." The mention of Jun-ju's secret set a gleam in Mo Wuyue's eyes, sparking his curiosity even further. He suggested a trade, his own secrets in exchange for Jun-ju's. But Jun-ju, unaffected and amused, declined the offer. With a light-hearted tone, she advised Mo Wuyue to go home, get some rest, and sleep on it, her dismissive response making it clear that Mo Wuyue's secrets didn't pique her interest in the slightest. As Mo Wuyue watched Jun-ju's retreating figure, he muttered to himself, marveling at the allure of this girl's fascinating soul. He found himself wanting Jun-ju even more, drawn in by her unique spirit and intrigued by the mysteries she held. The following day, Jun-ju made her way to the Jun family's study. She found herself unexpectedly impressed by Jun Lei-tian's taste. The room was spacious and opulently decorated. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu, her feline companion, seemed puzzled and asked why they had come. Jun-ju explained with a bit of sheepishness that, given her body's blocked meridians, she needed money for medicinal herbs. She couldn't help but reflect on how absurd it was that, in her previous world, wealth had been nothing more than a number to her, something that barely registered as valuable. Yet here she was now, searching for spare change to buy medicine. Once their plan was clear, the two embarked on a thorough search, rummaging through drawers and cabinets. Their efforts eventually paid off. They stumbled upon Jun Lei-tian's hidden stash of gold, silver, and jewels. But just as they congratulated themselves, Jun Lei-tian himself appeared, catching them in the act. The intensity of their eye contact in that moment was palpable, and even Jun-ju felt a twinge of embarrassment at being caught red-handed. Furious, Jun Lei-tian bellowed, demanding to know what Junju thought she was doing, accusing her of outright theft. Realizing the futility of pretending otherwise, Junju shrugged and waved a silver banknote, coolly reminding him that her father had once lent him a substantial sum of money, effectively helping him when he was in need. With a smirk, she declared that she was merely reclaiming what her family was owed. Jun Latian's face shifted with a brief flicker of guilt, though he immediately denied the debt. He stammered defensively, insisting that no such loan had ever taken place. Junju had no patience for Jun Latian's weak excuses. Without a word, she flicked a small knife in his direction, the blade slicing through the air with chilling precision, stopping beside him.